Good morning, afternoon, evening, night. Whenever you're watching this, hello. I'm just going to start off right now and just tell you all, I have been wanting to podcast for so long now. A few years back when I was in like my single era and had a lot of like crazy stuff happen to me, which I'd love to get into at some point. This isn't the video today, but I had a friend, still friends with her, love her very much, miss her so much. She had told me that I have so many crazy things happen that I should start a podcast. And we had like joked about like actually starting a podcast together, but I have just always been such a like talkative social person with whoever. I will say I feel like I have been camera shy many times before. I think like sometimes I portray myself completely different than like on the internet than maybe how I am in real life, which I know a lot of people do that. Obviously, that's just, that's life, that's social media. Everyone always shares the good parts. And I think for me, there's been so many things in my life that I've just wanted to like share and just like talk about, because I think that a lot of times, so many people relate to so many of the same things. So I literally wrote down a whole like note here of kind of what I want to talk about. Again, just bear with me because this is so gonna be like a little diary like type thing, which is so funny because gosh, I was like probably 14 or 15, and I remember having my parents had like a laptop or something, and I had recorded videos on there. Oh my gosh. I'd recorded videos on there of basically like my feelings and how I felt. And I used to do that a lot too in high school and even college, where like on Snapchat, it would be like the hidden like folder or whatever. I would literally record my feelings. I would record certain things, like me being in certain episodes. Again, with my mental health, which, I'd love to cover at some point, but I've always tried to like document how I felt, whether it be through writing or recording or anything like that. And I think that a lot of people, can relate to those things, just because, again, we're all human. We have human experiences, but I've always wanted to just talk. I don't always have like specific topics and, obviously not everything together right now, but I think that it's a good starting point, and it's just something that I have always wanted to do. So that's kind of what is gonna happen. I feel like I'm very awkward in front of the camera, which is really funny because my last job, which I just recently left, which I'd love to talk a little bit about that too. But with my last job, I literally sat in front of inmates, and I was a substance abuse counselor, so I literally talked to them about, coping skills and how to deal with substance use disorder and things like that. And crazy enough, like, that did not make me nervous at all. But, like, sitting in front of a camera alone in a room, it makes me kind of nervous. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm literally using, I don't know if you can tell, I'm literally using my candle lid as my coaster. I've been really wanting to get coasters. I've been thinking about ordering some off of Amazon, but I just haven't yet. So that's really like me starting the podcast. I think I also kind of explained like why as well. I feel like there's a lot I've always wanted to talk about, and a lot that I felt like I've always needed to like say or kind of get off my chest. And again, like, gosh, ever since I was younger, especially like in therapy and stuff, I was always told, write out your feelings. And a lot of times, I love writing. It's one of my passions. Like, if in another life I was like any type of profession, I would be a New York Times best-selling author. I used to write stories all the time as a kid and poems and things like that. But I love writing. And so I think in therapy, it was like, okay, just write, like write how you're feeling. And a lot of times I would be able to do that, but I like to be able to talk, talk more and be able to kind of, relate in that way, I guess, because especially some of the therapists I had, like, they had gone through a lot of the same stuff that I had went through. I definitely have like a plan of just talking about maybe everyday life things, or just again making this kind of like a personal diary of my life, and then just kind of how I've, been doing recently, and just a bunch of random things, right? But again, I know it like can all change at some point too. I really think it's so cool that there are people who are able to get behind a camera and literally just put themselves out there. I think for so long I have been like super like socially awkward, especially in middle school, which I feel like that's also an age where you have those awkward stages. I was very awkward in middle school. So I think that, being able to be behind a screen and genuinely just like talk and be myself. My boyfriend was like, just be yourself. Like I said, it's crazy that this makes me a little bit more like scared and nervous than sitting in front of, inmates doing my job, right? But it does, it's scary to, I guess, put things out, as well. Because again, a lot of people put things out that, they know people are going to want to see, right? Which is fair. Social media, right? Also, as I'm looking at everything, I never thought I'd be a pink girly. I'm not going to lie, but my room back at my parents' was pink. I feel like me and my younger sister were like the pink and purple type girls. We always had pink and purple. We had like a princess bedroom, pink and purple. I'm totally getting on like a side tangent here, but I'm serious. Like, I think pink was never my vibe. I used to be like, no, ew, pink. Like, what? No, I do not like pink. But here's the thing. I feel like pink is like such a feminine color. Like, just brings out your like feminine energy. And I think that actually being in here and like in a cozy little space of my own, and it's pink, I'm genuinely laughing, because my younger self would have been like, why? Like, why, girl? Why? But no, I like that. So I got sidetracked. I'm really sorry. Anyways, so okay, my third thing here, my third topic, um, a life update. So I'm gonna try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. So I just, gosh, I think so I'd been living with my parents for a while. And I say a while, like after college, I moved back in with them because you kind of need to in this economy right now. And they were always, very welcoming, with loving open arms. So I did. I've lived with them for a while now. I'm currently not living with them, as me and my boyfriend bought a house together. So I think that was a huge like milestone in my life. I swear I get a bunch of TikToks that just talk about a lot of, negativity with like the economy and being able to like buy a house. And that is really like, it's a big accomplishment, because it's true. Like, even though like a lot of it is like negative, it's true. Like, the economy now for a lot of the millennials and Gen Z's, like, genuinely, I feel like it's been really hard. And I really never thought that I was gonna get to the point where I could save enough money to be able to buy my house, like buy a home. So it's a big accomplishment, and yeah, it's something, that I will brag about, just because I think if you know me, you know that that is something that has like, it's been one of the biggest goals of my entire life. And just especially after a lot of the things that I've been through, and the things that have come, with my life and everything. And I think that having a house now is one of the biggest accomplishments literally ever. buying a house, it took me like, I just save up for a down payment, which down payments are so important. I tried to get as good of a down payment as possible. Buying this house and like saving up, yeah, it took a lot of like discipline. A lot of times too, there were things I had to stop doing. I used to get my lashes done. I used to get my nails done. There were so many things that were like almost like self-care for me that I just had to stop doing because it's so expensive. I will say the one thing that I didn't stop was therapy, which is a good thing. I'm not in therapy right now, but this is like a therapy right now, guys. This is like therapy right now. There's a lot of things I had to cut back on. You know, I love going and like, you know, getting coffee and like fast food and just like I had to kind of cut down on all of that, which was fine. I made it. Like, I made it, guys. I made it. So, but I saved for a good, like, gosh, probably 4-ish months, maybe more. I don't even remember when I started saving, but I remember having to like buckle down and be like, I have to save, especially because my boyfriend and I are really serious, and I think it was time for us to genuinely like move in together and like live together. And so far it's been like amazing, genuinely. It's my first time living with a significant other, so it is different. It's a lot different than living with my family, but it is a big accomplishment. I really feel like I would not have been able to do it without him. I would not have, I did a lot of things myself, but I also feel like now, like being here, I couldn't do it without him. Like, he's definitely my biggest supporter. So, shout out to us for that, for sure, for sure. So, saving up for a house, definitely a lot, but it was definitely worth it. Buying a house in general, I feel like, honestly, the process, it wasn't that terrible. I feel like sometimes it could be a little stressful, like going and having to, like, after work every night I would go and like look at houses and everything with our realtor, and our realtor was like great too. He was never super pushy. Like, he knew what we wanted, he knew what we didn't want, things like that, which I think is really important when you are buying a house. And yeah, just super supportive through it all. So this house is perfect. It's perfect. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. The kitchen's really pretty. We face a cornfield. Like, I'm literally looking out at the cornfield right now. For me, I think growing up in the Midwest, there's just something about being in the country. I grew up, in the country, like, obviously small town, whatever. And like when I went back to my parents, especially like after college and stuff, we had moved and like more into, I'd say, like the suburbs type thing. It's, wasn't surrounded by cornfields or anything like that. And I missed that like country vibe. So I knew going into looking for houses and buying a home, I wanted something that reminded me of my childhood, like reminded me of, being out in the country, having bonfires, like small things like that, I guess. But it's great because we are out here in the country, but we are also like not even 20 minutes from a lot of like major things, which is great. Which that also leads me into my job change. So the job I had was a job that I think I'm still like trying to process that I'm not going to be working at that job anymore, which is just weird because like I would say it's my first like big girl job because I was there for almost 2 years, like big girl job out of college. I graduated with a bachelor's of science in psychology and a minor in counseling. And I found myself working at a prison with incarcerated individuals, and a hard job. but it was rewarding at times. I have honestly met some of the greatest friends and like coworkers from that job, and having to leave that was definitely bittersweet. But I'm really excited because I'm starting a whole new chapter in my life where I am going to be closer to home. Instead of driving like 40 minutes to work, I will be about 10 minutes, which with the price of gas recently, I think that I'm saving money there. And also, the job that I will be taking is a pay raise as well. And it is a director position, so like a management position. And it's a big step, 100%. I'm really nervous. I think that for me, I am the type of person where I just want to grow in my job, and I want to grow. I want to grow as a person, you know? And it's crazy because I've had so many conversations with my boyfriend just recently about how different like I am now at 26 than I was like only like even a few years ago. And thank God. Thank God, like in a good way, like thank goodness, because I've grown so much, and I have like felt so independent. But again, I think a lot of that just came with time and growing up and being more mature and like having certain life experiences and living, you know, life a certain way. And so the one thing that I'm like always going to strive for is to keep growing, whether it's in my career, like my mental health, my friendships, my relationship, you know, I just want to like thrive and grow in the best way possible. And that is one thing that I'll always stand on. But I definitely think that all of this has been a lot. It's a big change, you know, it's a big, big change. And for me, I think that all of this, even though it's been like a lot and a long time coming, I deserve all of the good things that have happened to me recently. And I actually had a coworker tell me that. And especially like again in my career, I think it's so hard because I think I always portray, especially at work, I always portray this like bubbly, like sweet, like girl. And trust me, I mean, I'm so bubbly, I'm super sweet, like I am. But like, I think I've always had to hide behind a lot of insecurity and a lot of just feeling like I've never, you know, been good enough, or there's a lot of like things. But the one thing that I know my boss and like my coworkers were always, you know, enjoying was just my bubbly personality. And I think for me, especially in the prison environment and mental health in general, like all of that combined, you need positivity, you need a bubbly personality, you have to be like that light, you know? And I think for so long, I have wanted to be a light in someone's life because I know what it feels like to genuinely struggle and not have, you know, not feel like there's hope, right? Or like a light at the end of the tunnel. So, again, a lot of good things definitely have been happening to me recently. And there's so much more that I definitely want to dive into and like talk about. But I'm just happy to be here, and I'm just happy that I'm able to start this and just really kind of explore my talents, my interests, things like that, because for me it's like it's so many things like I feel like I want to do or I want to be good at, right? And so just exploring kind of like who I am. I think like at 26 years old, I have really been trying to search deep and to find like who is McKenna? Like who is she, you know, outside of her job? Or who is she like outside of her relationship? Or who is she outside of being a firstborn daughter and being such a control freak and things like that? Like who am I, you know? And I think that being able to find myself in that sense and doing this is going to be a really good thing. So, But that is all for today. So thank you guys.